Hurricanes are not an unusual phenomenon in the South Atlantic. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, it is not uncharacteristic for the Atlantic region to see an average of 10 storms each year. In 2005, there were 26. Katrina was number 11. When Katrina passed through Florida as a slow-moving Category 1 storm, no one expected how much power it would gain in the Gulf as it turned towards New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. As the storm gained strength in the Gulf, becoming the first Category 5 storm of the season, it was too late to reinforce the levees in New Orleans that experts had predicted could withstand nothing greater than a Category 3 storm. Katrina would clearly be the greatest test of the levee system's vulnerability. Evacuees from New Orleans and other parts of Louisiana had already come to Houston and other parts of Texas, including Beaumont, to flee the storm. Most came only with enough money and clothes to keep them in a hotel for a few days, expecting to soon return home.
So you were just planning on staying just a couple days?
Just a few days, yeah. We didn't bring anything. We didn't have that, so we all without clothes, but the people has been tremendous, though.
Those who were left in New Orleans and along the Louisiana-Mississippi Gulf Coast region had no other option but to ride out the storm, praying and hoping for the best. Monday, August 29, 2005. Katrina's eye wall makes landfall as a Category 4 storm, slamming into the Gulf Coast with a direct hit on the community of Waveland, Mississippi, just east of New Orleans. The surge from Katrina produced a 30-foot wave that traveled inland over 2 miles, consuming homes and lifting boats and debris from the coast and depositing them inland.
I mean, that's a boat from the coast, which is about a mile that way, and it just came through. They had about a 30 to 32 foot storm surge, and it just went through all of these businesses, all of these things.
Initial reports show the most severe damage along the Mississippi Gulf Coast is in Waveland, Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian, Gulfport, and Picayune. In the first week alone, the U.S. Coast Guard rescued more than 17,000 people, almost twice as many as it saved in the previous 50 years combined. Meanwhile, flooding is reported in New Orleans, but the storm's hardest hit appeared to have missed the city. Tuesday, August 30th, 2005. In what seems like an instant, the extensive levee system in New Orleans collapses from the pressure of the storm, weakened from the battery of Katrina's intensity. Water floods into the city, 70% of which sits below sea level on swampland. As the deluge begins, an entire evacuation of the city is ordered. Hundreds are rescued from rooftops and bridges by helicopter. Many go days without food or water, and thousands are transported by bus into Texas. Families are separated in the chaos. Many make their way to the Superdome and Convention Center in the hope that relief and rescue will soon arrive. This major American city of over 1 million people would eventually become an underwater ghost town, with over 80% of the city under 20 feet of water. But in Houston and in other cities throughout Texas, which would soon find themselves hosting over 250,000 evacuees, the calls for help had already begun. Within hours, Somebody Cares is command central, receiving non-stop calls from desperate evacuees and connecting needs with resources from all across the nation. Working with a long-standing network of churches and ministries throughout the U.S., Somebody Cares America and its affiliates were uniquely positioned to provide immediate relief in the midst of the crisis. Somebody Cares President Doug Stringer identified a 4-stage strategy to tackle what seems like a monumental task. It was a process based on what was learned through the ministry's relief efforts earlier in the year with Indonesia's tsunami. Stage 1, rapid response in rescuing lives. Stage 2, regrouping for continuing relief and recovery. Stage 3, continuing recovery and rebuilding. Stage 4, restoration of lives. On August 30th, KSBJ Radio announces the Cards for Katrina project, partnering with 35 Houston YMCAs as card drop-off sites and Somebody Cares Houston as the distributor for the cards.
I'm Sharon Borzilleri. I'm the director at the Northwest YMCA up here on 34th Street, and we are collecting product donations as well as gift cards for all of the refugees, and I'm actually bringing them here to Somebody Cares. So.
In the first 2 weeks alone, over 20,000 families came through the Somebody Cares office and received immediate assistance with gift cards for gas, food, and clothing, along with prayer, encouragement, and hope.
They gave me 2 gift cards, one for Walmart and a gas card. I appreciate that. That was a help. I mean, maybe I could find a job with the gas card, and at least I have something decent to put on, because I really just have the clothes that I have.
As the assessments come in from New Orleans and the Gulf, Katrina is confirmed as the most destructive and costliest natural disaster in the history of the United States. The one-on-one ministry continues in Houston with an outpouring of help from dedicated volunteers and churches. But Doug Stringer assesses and evaluates the bigger picture as well. Somebody Cares provides cots, food, and finances for 20 churches to convert themselves into shelters.
And we're trying to provide food and clothing as much as we can, give them all the information we can about what's available for housing. We're trying to find them places to live.
2 warehouses are procured for collection and distribution of material goods.
And so we had a great turnout with the community coming and giving us the gift cards. And if you look around the room, you'll see piles of clothes and toys. You can see the people stand in line for their gift cards, and they're really appreciative. So
Trucks began coming in from all over the country with donations of food, water, and other materials. Other trucks are directed to partner ministries and other locations serving evacuees and serving on ground in the disaster areas, while thousands of dollars in grants are obtained and distributed throughout the same areas as well. Relief teams are mobilized into some of the hardest hit areas of the Gulf Coast, and staging areas equipped with mobile kitchens and medical clinics were set up in Slidell, Waveland, and Picayune.
Doug Stringer, Somebody Cares. We loaned you this clinic. Actually, what happened was we actually heard that they needed a clinic immediately in Picayune, so I called my friends at Christian Alliance in Pearland, Texas. Then I called Operation Blessing and said, could you give me a truck? And by 7 o'clock that night, we had the truck on the way to Picayune. As soon as we got there, the lights went on, so they had their clinic, and so we let convoys borrow it up here in Slidell.
It's been wonderful. It really has been. Very adequate.
Yeah, it's
very
great.
nice.
Well, it's the way the body works together.
That's right, yeah.
So, well, thank you for all you guys are doing, your tireless, labor here to serve people. So
it's great. It's been a real blessing.
It's awesome.
Donors help supply funds to purchase a potable water tank for Gulfport, Mississippi, and to pay transit costs for 10 trucks going to 9 different locations. Meanwhile, Somebody Cares Southeast Texas is at the heart of the recovery efforts as many evacuees arrive in Beaumont.
Numbers you can't even come close to imagining. We're talking people walking in the doors. We're talking ended up having to add 2 more phone lines to our existing phone lines here at the church because we just have so many people calling in. We've ministered to bus loads literally. And
supplies are collected and distributed from the warehouse located at Beaumont's North Church, and other churches in the area became the adopted homes of entire communities from New Orleans.
The people that we have with us are our one church out of New Orleans. We've got 160 something, 162 representing how many families? 60 families?
60 families.
All right. So treating us like we're kings around here, so we're honored to be here. We're blessed beyond, to be in a place where people are welcoming us.
On Monday, September 19th, KSBJ sponsors the Concert for Katrina at Astroworld with recording artists Toby Mack, Third Day, Natalie Grant, and the Crab Family as the grand finale for the Cards for Katrina project. Doug Stringer brings a message of encouragement and hope to the many evacuees who came as the special guests of honor.
How many neighbors from Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama do we have here right now? We've been able to, as of yesterday, help nearly 6,000 families and over 18,000 people with nearly $500,000 worth of gift cards already.
It's so great to be able to be here tonight to honor the people who have been in this tragedy, whose lives have been directly affected by the hurricane.
I've had the opportunity to hear a lot of heart-rending stories, a lot of pain. We can watch TV and begin to see at a distance the devastation, but these are real people. As I was flying over a helicopter and assessing some of New Orleans the other day, my heart began to break and I began to cry. As I think about the thousands upon thousands who may have gotten away with their lives, but there are also memories and loss that they'll never regain. And we're going to have to be sensitive to these heroes. They're not losers, they're winners, and they're champions. And I want to say to every one of you that are here from our neighboring states, you may have lost property, you may have lost other things, but we want you to know that you will get past this moment. We cannot see sometimes through our disappointments and our distractions and our hurts, but I can promise you this. If the Lord is the Lord of you, you can overcome any situation because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.
James done, what Somebody Cares has done, I mean, it just puts a smile on my face to know that, you know what, there's going to be big problems in the future, but God has an entire, his church is there to help, and so I'm just grateful for what they've done.
But even as the concert ends, reports are spreading that another storm is gaining strength in the Gulf, heading straight towards Houston as the third most intense storm ever. As Rita becomes a Category 5 storm in the Gulf, the evacuation of Houston's 4 million residents results in the largest traffic jam in history. Motorists on the main arteries leaving Houston sit in deadlock for hours. The phones at Somebody Cares begin to ring with calls of stranded motorists needing gas, lodging, and hotels. As more and more calls come in, members of the Somebody Cares team choose to stay embedded in Houston to continue to serve the many relocated Katrina evacuees and the new evacuees now coming from Southeast Texas. Joined by Katrina disaster relief volunteers from Japan and Australia, the team delivers supplies to a hotel of Katrina survivors in North Houston who are in desperate need of food.
So we left 12 o'clock on the freeway. We got here at 1:30 in the morning. It took us 16 and a half hours to get 36 miles. Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much. Everybody say thank you, Doug. Thank you.
And Somebody Cares.
And Somebody Cares. Somebody Cares. Thank you so much for answering my phone calls, everything. Thank you.
And if you go about 200 miles southeast of our coast, they have winds out over the open waters right now of over 101 miles per hour just off the Texas coast. And peak wave height right now just reported at 38 feet. So this is a serious storm. It's a weak Category 4. It might become a strong Category 3 when it makes landfall late tonight, early tomorrow morning.
Already exhausted, they settle for the night knowing the morning would bring news of more damage from Rita, now bearing down as a Category 3 hurricane. Saturday, September 24th, 2005. As Rita hits landfall east of Houston, Somebody Cares responds within a matter of hours by sending an assessment team that has come to Houston from Antioch Church in Waco. The team heads to Cathedral in the Pines in Beaumont to assess the needs and communicate back to Houston. The very next day, Somebody Cares America is on the ground in Southeast Texas, bringing emergency relief supplies to Beaumont, Kirbyville, and other communities. As call after call come in, trucks and supplies are directed to areas of greatest need. God supplies divine appointments for generators and other supplies, and one generator salesman is led to a relationship with the Lord. The ensuing hours and days would reveal significant damage, especially in the rural and remote areas. People are without electricity, water, and food. Roofs blown off of homes. Downed trees blocking roadways. By empowering local churches, Somebody Cares is able to identify these areas and direct its partners to these hard-hit areas in the critical hours immediately after the storm.
With Somebody Cares America and Somebody Cares Southeast Texas, and what they are doing is they are feeding the people of this area hot meals twice a day. There's actually a mobile kitchen that they move in on the back of a semi-truck. It's amazing because for a lot of these people, it's the only time they're getting any hot food at all.
Luke 21 tells us there will be wars, famines, earthquakes, floods, and tsunamis. But verse 13 says that these disasters will be occasion for our testimony. As the year comes to an end, the work is far from over. But by all accounts, it has been the body of Christ that has risen to the occasion to meet the needs in this monumental crisis. The church, Doug Stringer says, is positioned like no other entity to respond to crisis. By working together with our many partners in ministry, over $30 million in emergency resources was facilitated through all the Somebody Cares partners and affiliates. Our Houston office alone has given away $1 million in gift cards and over $1 million in grants, while distributing nearly $4 million of gifts in kind from our warehouse, from water to groceries, to shoes to shampoo, to generators. Because the kingdom of God is built on relationship, over and over again it was relationship that opened doors that bureaucracy could not open. And because of our long-standing kingdom relationships, Somebody Cares has been able to meet the needs others could not.
The time to get connected is not during a disaster. The time to get connected is now. So when disasters come, you get the kind of relief and support that we've gotten through Doug and his network, and we're very grateful and glad we did it many, many years ago. It's paying off now.
Those who profess to know Christ have an obligation to bring hope and peace in the storm. When the church operates as she was intended, tragedy turns to triumph. Despair turns to hope, and defeat turns to victory. In the midst of the storm, this is what the church was created to be.